seems to work. So like it arrows out and then it,
That makes no sense, but okay.
but okay. So
Hello.
hello, are we up?
We are live on my side.
Okay, I'm assuming we are, even though I see Zoom going to YouTube, but yeah, so we're live. So hi, welcome in. Um, Anybody who might be watching or might watch later, you know.
Which I know we have a
Um,
few of you.
yeah, so today on our illustrious Space Weather Unplugged or Unhinged, whatever you want to call it, we're gonna discuss the X7.1 flare that happened yesterday and what we might be expect from that CME wise, geomagnetic storm wise, because it seems to be more bark than bite. And then we're gonna have a little story time because me, Christian, Tanya, and Beth were all out doing in Minnesota chasing, well, where I won't say we weren't exactly chasing Aurora because there was nothing in the forecast, but and we'll get to that in a second. But we were able to actually successfully chase a substorm and watch the whole thing unfold. And it was quite cool. So we put together some slides that show the progression of a substorm and how it changes. We got satellite imagery matching up with on the ground imagery. So it should be a fun little story time.
Oh yeah, fun in many different ways.
Yeah, so I will give you sharing privileges. So we'll go right into the exciting thing, the thing that the internet is a buzz about right now, which is this giant flare. What was it? It's in the top
It
25.
is. I don't remember the all time because I'll be honest, I don't really care too much for that part of it. But it is the second highest of solar cycle 25, at least, short only by a little bit. X8 on in May after the May storm.
Yep. Yep. So it's exciting.
Yes, quite. So yes, X715, which it wound up being a for some reason, I want to say Noah called it an impulsive flare. This is not what I would call impulsive. It decayed fairly slowly. I wouldn't call it a long duration event necessarily, but it did go back to the M class territory for almost 20 minutes after it peaked. So I'm not sure I would necessarily call that impulsive or not. But the point is, there was an X flare, and it did have a CME launch. Ooh, we don't want to go there. Let's go ahead and I'm going to play a video that I already made a while back that shows kind of all the eruptions. So this is looking at the corona and kind of the neat little coronal loops that show up. This is 131, the really bright one, and it did absolutely brighten things up quite a bit. This is to show the dimming areas and the CME release into the south, northeast, and the southwest. This is some of the spots. I am going to pause it here. 3842 is the spot that had it from. There's a couple other potent ones. It looks like the southern hemisphere is kind of bumping itself up again. But this is kind of a cool point, and it's going to be a little hard to see, so I'm going to try to slow this part down.
Oh, is this where the
The
white?
white light flare, yeah, which I
Whoa.
want to say counts as it. At least it should. This flare, though, was decently enough powerful that let's go all the way back here. There we go. And let's see how long that takes.
If we don't get white light, it's hard to say white light flares very often.
So check out this region right here, and then just wait just about a second or so. And again, that is right here.
Yep,
Boom.
little blip.
Little flash there. But the point is, you don't normally see those when you're looking at the continuum intensity grams that just show the white light coming from the sun, which is very good for showing off sunspots. This is still a very potent region. The delta region is pretty smushed, so there's a decent chance for higher flares later on as well. Hopefully, it's maybe a little faster and a little harder. Which, on that note, the actual Lasgo imagery, I'll be honest, if the second I pause it in the frame, it's almost impossible to find. You can usually see the CME coming out, at least when it starts from C3. I don't think C2 has a good view on it, but there, as it goes out, that is our full halo. And it did end up being a full halo, it looks like, even though the northeast region or northwest region is very faint. There was not a lot here. It did wind up showing up at least later on in C3. So I think it's reasonable to assume we'll get hit, at least with the partial side of the bulk. We have at least one of the models. This is the WSA and low model from the Moon to Mars mission. And that is about right there. So it's about October 4th, 2040 UTC, plus or minus 7 hours. As you can see, this is the speed a model for it, and this is showing anywhere from 400 to 500 maybe kilometers a second for wind speed. Not very fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
it's
do
not
know. Go
very
ahead.
fast.
No, yeah, not at all. Now, this is an important point I want to make while I'm pulling this up because the Huxt forecast just ran its ensemble. Um, CMEs and their classifications in flares are not necessarily correlated. You can, as in this example, have high flares that are low CME speed. You can have vice versa as well, and that's just speed. When it comes to power, there's not really a assumption. So an X class flare is not necessarily more likely to have a bigger punch than a C class flare, let's say CME. So in that case, you can't really use the correlation between, oh, this is an X7, so that means the CME is going to be big and hit hard. Not necessarily, even though there's a correlation to that and it does have some truth, it's not enough to justify thinking that all the time. So as always, it's important to wait for the modeling to come out as well as measurements. That way we can actually say that. On that note, the Huxt ensemble forecast does show the CME to be hit, about 71% chance at least in the probability. It's a
Actually,
pretty vast group of speeds, though. Speeds and arrival times, they're really spread out. I mean, pretty badly. Let's see. So this is showing about a speed of about 508 kilometers a second when it arrives, and it's estimating about 834 UTC, the fifth. So it's modeling it as much slower. And that arrival is about 3 a.m. ish on the night of October 4th. So it's still around that time here in the East Coast, at least.
I'd say that's reasonable.
I would say so as well. NOAA has as well put out a G1 to G3 watch for this. The range is just because it's really hard to figure out what this is going to do. Yes, it's faint, but I've seen faint CMEs hit pretty hard, and I've seen slow CMEs hit pretty hard, but I've also seen them hit pretty softly. So really, it's anybody's guess at this point. I did do a flux warp analysis, not that I think it's going to come to be because there's some complexities in this eruption, as well as it's just too much of a side hit to matter. But it looks mostly like an east-southwest, in which case we should be seeing a nice negative VZ if we get any of this. And I can't say if enough, so I'm going to continue if to say if. If.
That's right. Because
Not
again,
enough.
it seems like we just keep getting side swipes, which
And
makes
now, I mean, in our experiences, the side swipes have been bigger than the main
yeah.
hits. So, I mean, at this point, flip a coin, whatever comes out, I think we're safe to say that's what's going to happen. Oh, actually, I went over all the videos. So I have nothing left on that. So again, X7, we've got about 2 days plus some time before it arrives. It won't be that fast. May not be that potent either, but it could give some high latitude, middle latitude aurora. We'll see. As always, we wait till L1.
Yeah. We wait till the upstream monitors.
That just needs to be a tattoo on our foreheads at this point. L1. We
Yeah.
are waiting for actual data.
And for those that, because I had this question before, so I need to bring it up. So L1 is a location. Just, you
Oh,
know,
fair.
to
Yes,
keep it.
it is a 1.5 million kilometers. That is literally 1% the distance of the sun, of the Earth to the sun, out from the Earth. So it once our data hits L1, it's still 1.5 million kilometers to get to Earth. That takes usually 45 minutes to 60 minutes. That's why Discover Ace data is not immediate as of now. You have a little bit of a lag in between the two.
So there you go. Speaking of that, so now we're gonna talk about our little story. So that because originally our whole podcast this week was gonna be on this story because it's cool. It's like, it's sort of validating when you can take all this information and actually see it unfold in real time. Um, Especially because we were there at Grand Portage and there was I don't know, I think it was a photography workshop, maybe, I'm not sure, but there was a group of people there and we were talking about Aurora, or they were talking about Aurora, and they kept saying they're not sticking around because there's nothing in the forecast. So this is the whole kind of, I guess, moral of the story here is how the solar wind doesn't stop. And we do have transient things that come through here and there. And how the magnetosphere responds, you can actually get decent activity when there's nothing in the forecast. And that night was actually the 4 days that we were up there. Well, what did we see? Aurora 3 of the 4 days?
Technically, so I got we got it the first night, Wednesday night, Saturday night, and then Sunday night. I didn't get anything Thursday night.
Yeah.
And then
So
Friday night, I think we did the Rosette Nebula. So
yes.
3 nights?
Yeah, so I mean, and that's going again, there was nothing in the forecast. So that's our whole gist. So I'm gonna share this because it's we're gonna talk about our little okay, okay, where'd I go? Okay, I gotta bring it back up first. Yeah. Okay,
I'll be answering on chat now as well.
yeah, go for it. Let me know if you can see this, if I picked the right screen.
Yeah, so right, yes. As long as we go into slideshow mode, I'd say we're good.
Okay, I will put in slideshow mode, which should be, come on. I don't want to start a meeting. I just want to play them. Why am
Your guess is as good as mine.
I got it to work the one time. Ugh.
Oh, it might be the slideshow button by the camera.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
I didn't see it either. No judgment.
I'm I'm a professional, what can I say? Uh so yeah, this was fun. It was all of us went out and chased this. It was neat because we're all admins with the upper Midwest Aurora Chasers. Oh my gosh. I I, I
It's a
said
long
I
word.
I said that I was going to be awake for this, and I kind of am. But it was a bunch of us admins got together and we decided we wanted to go Aurora Chase, and we had some fun with it. So this is a little snapshot. I'm going to start off with the time lapse from my one camera, so you can actually watch this whole thing go from the band to the pillars and then back into recovery. So we'll play it. I didn't have time to put any music to it. Um, but it's kind of neat to watch. And you'll see when we were taking our selfies because there's a bunch of lights in the foreground. But it's just neat. It's neat to watch it unfold. This is just a typical substorm that can happen on any given night, I guess you could say. Um, and it's nice because it's isolated. It's not something that's I'll play it again while I'm talking. But like we get these big events where you can have substorms on top of substorms on top of substorms. You have like stuff in growth phase that's in recovery. It's neat to get the every once in a while get these like little snippets of how things are supposed to happen if there's no other influences. Um,
Textbook.
yeah, this time lapse took me a little bit to get through because I had some issues figuring it out, and I originally rendered it and it was backwards. So that was kind of fun. Um,
Which that works if we can reverse time.
yeah, but no. So this is kind of our the starting point, and Tanya was nice enough to pull in the satellite imagery as well, so you can look at it from the satellite, the all sky camera that is at a museum and nature center. I believe it's up on the Gunflint Trail, but I could be wrong. But it's up. It's kind of near where we were, so it's cool to correlate these together. And you can see it's just starting to glow in this all sky cam. And this is what I got on camera. So you see like the glow was just there. It's very, nondescript. It's not
Not
super
very
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not super exciting. This is kind of what the name of the game has been for the past couple months or so. The super not exciting Aurora. But then we have the substorm onset. So you can start to see it gets a little bit more um in the northern horizon there on the all sky cam, you start to see the band get a little bit bigger, and even in the picture, you actually start to get little. You can see like the pillars start to form.
The
Sometimes you'll
dream.
get the auroral beads, which I didn't see this time, but that's if you get the beading, that's usually an indicator that it's about to expand. I didn't notice it with this one, but we definitely started to get the pillars popping in.
Yeah.
And then we progress on a little bit more, and this is where it's going to start to expand out, and where you get more of the pillars and more of the color. And this is about where I can start to naked eye see it, with my terrible eyesight that I have. So here's what we were seeing on the ground. Definitely a lot more structure, a lot more pillars, and these pillars were quite bright. Oh, I do gotta mention this is a 35 millimeter lens that I have on here, so it's a little bit narrower view. The wider shot was more like in the sky. It was more on the northern horizon, a little bit higher. I don't think this never got above the Big Dipper.
No, the pillars did. I noticed. I mean, they were actually quite a
Yeah,
bit above the pillars, but
yeah,
or above the Big Dipper. But no, the actual
yeah,
band never rose more than just the first star in the bottom.
yeah. So it's just a nice little substorm. And then it keeps progressing onward. We start to get like separation in the band a bit. Some not quite the pulsing yet, but you get these little splotches. Yeah, like this. Well, actually, did I go backwards? I know. No, it's brighter. So
It looks
this,
right.
yeah, that looks bright. So it's just way brighter. You can start to see naked eye visibility. This is where I could see the reflection in the water. Like you could actually
Yep,
walk. I could walk over to these rocks a lot easier. Like I didn't need a headlamp anymore. So that was kind of cool.
that was cool. That's my first time experiencing something like that.
All right, then we'll keep going on here. So the now you can see in this one, this is
Got lots of breakup.
where it starts to separate out a little bit and you get the different patches. Um the names are escaping me, but it's like Omega and Torches. Those kind of the main structures that are here.
The
We can't
Omega bands.
Yeah, we don't really see them too much and unless it's something bigger down here, just because we're still looking at it from like far away, like instead of being under it, you're looking at it straight on. Um, but if you're under it, a lot of these like patches would be more of the swirly, what you'd see. Like if we had something from Alaska per se. But what was neat is you could see in the satellite imagery, you could see the little splotches here, and then you can see it here. So that's pretty cool. Actually, I thought it was cool.
It was. It was absolutely cool. That whole process was.
Yeah. Then it kept going, more of the
Got
splotches,
very patchy.
yeah, more of the patches, and then like as it starts to get into recovery, you get the pulsing, and I noticed some of the pulsing, especially in the real time video, which I didn't have time to mess with right now, but you could see the like this whole band right here would pulse. It was pretty neat, and then again, and then it starts to fade out. So this one's showing, you can see it in the satellite too. It just kind of like stretches and fades a little bit, and you're seeing it on the ground imagery too. And it stayed like that for quite some
Like
time.
an hour, hour and a half at
Yeah,
least.
we had another substorm hit that I didn't capture because it was going into astro twilight and I just didn't have it in me anymore.
We were up all night at that point.
Yeah, but there was a third substorm that happened. We just didn't catch it. So then we caught this second one, and the second it was just such a cool thing to witness, like from basically from seeing it to happen. And now I think these slides have some data in it. Oh yeah, so we'll talk about this is the Glendale app, which we've harped on many, many times here,
Every
uh,
week.
every week. So the one that is pictured in here is this one right here, the one that's 7 UTC, and you can see the sudden drop, and then the which is the unloading, and then the so it's dissipating all the energy in. So that whole series of images is basically this right here, this little band. And as you can see, around 9 UTC, there actually was one that was a little bit better. Oh well, somebody's
Darn.
somebody's got to sleep sometime. Yeah, yeah. But we want to talk about the data. So this is this is the zoomed out, the 30-day one. But we'll zoom in to what we're talking about. It was right around, so we were sitting at Grand Portage, watching the boring SMC Aurora. And
Ugh.
and we were talking about packing it up and leaving, but then Christian noticed, hey, we might have to hang on here. We noticed this drop in the BZ right here for after being north. And what did we wait there? We waited about what, 10, 15 minutes to see if it was
I,
just,
10 minutes was enough. I think I mentioned 5 minutes at least if we could get something consistent. And after 10, it was still going. So we're like, all right, fine. Let's go back.
yeah. So we're like, okay, well, now we have time to go somewhere. About 2 hours, really. From, when you see this kind of data drop and then when the magnetosphere responds, you do have a couple hours. I mean, granted, yes, give or take on what's driving it. This happens to be nothing spectacular driving it, so it's kind of on the slower side. So that's when we decided to pack up from Grand Portage because there was a pretty significant amount of light pollution on the northern horizon. And we ended up at Caribou Lake, which is the I probably yeah, Caribou Lake in outside of Lutsen, Minnesota. I'm probably saying
Yep.
that wrong. But
I was gonna say Lutzen, but either
yeah,
one of us
let's,
is wrong.
I'm
Yeah.
sure somebody will correct me eventually. But that's where we were. We liked it. Actually, I was there the night before. I went to Caribou Lake. I don't know how many times that trip, but it's nice because you get mostly a northern horizon shot. There were some trees to the left, but it's mostly northern. And we had a string of weather where the wind, it was so calm. So you just get that awesome reflection in the water, and it was just really quite spectacular. Um, so anyway, we had about 2 hours, and then we get there, and you as you see this data held, and it really was about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I think,
Well,
is
because it
what.
took us what 40 minutes to get back just to get to
Yeah,
that spot
yeah.
of that 2 hours.
And then we saw the band and then the explosion and all that fun stuff. It was just really cool. It was really cool to be able to see this in the data from the real-time L1 data and then putting it together for how the magnetosphere responds and seeing it happen. I don't know. It was really it was neat.
It was awesome.
I had to put our group shot in there.
Yeah, because two of us actually, well, yeah, technically all three of us don't live up there in that area, but of course Tanya lives at least in the
Yeah.
state as
Yeah, she lives in the state. Me and Christian don't. As you see, I had my muck boots on because I put the cameras in the water. Those are the two cameras that were the images that I pulled are in the slideshow and the time lapse. Those they were still going at this time because it was kind of going into recovery and pulsing, so we just let it run. But yeah, that was fun. We need to do it again.
a lot of fun.
Like there was nothing in the forecast. Those
We need
guys,
like a monthly occasion for this or something.
I just laughed so hard because those guys were adamant. They're like, "Well, there's nothing in the forecast, so we're just gonna pack it up." Well,
You're
look at
lost.
yeah, because that was it was actually
That's what
quite
you get for looking at Aurora apps,
yeah. Aurora, the not
the not good ones.
including Glendale. Well, anyway, I'm gonna stop sharing this so we can chit chat. But on that note, because we do have something in the forecast,
Real now.
coming the next couple days, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. We just don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. Um, it could be good. Like I think we like to tread lightly on it because this could go sideways literally a lot of different ways.
Yep.
And some of these, like Christian was saying, some of these have more bite to them than we originally thought. With IMF or interplanetary magnetic field strength. Um, so we just gotta wait and see. I don't want to dismiss it. I mean, look at like a couple weeks ago, we got sideswiped by that other one and ended up having a really good substorm out of it. Granted, it was short-lived. And we had a full moon, so I can't really say that with great confidence because if the moon wasn't there, it might have been better. But the really, really good part that everybody saw was quite short-lived. And that's typical when you just get like a shock and you don't get a lot of it. So we'll see what happens with this one.
We're looking at last week's event that we didn't actually end up getting.
Yeah, that
Any
too. That's right. That's right. I totally forgot about that because
same region,
yeah, same region where there was yeah, we got nothing. And everybody was monitoring that like crazy. Like looking at the EPAM and all the stuff and we had stuff in EPAM, but it's just
but
it's hard
nothing came through.
really hard when it's right on the edge of the Earth strike zone. It's like yeah, and that's why Space Weather Prediction Center, M2M, and a lot of these places that have to do these forecastings, they will do err on the side of caution. And that's why there's such a spread too. We have it's October, what is that watch up for October 3rd through 5th or something
Yeah,
like that?
it's a pretty big,
Yeah, it's a bit
not a narrow window at all.
it's one of the bigger windows that I've seen put out for this type of forecast, and that's because the uncertainty is just all over the place. It would be way easier if we get textbook things like the substorm that we just went over. But that just doesn't happen. Doesn't
Uh, can
happen
we
all the time.
can we go back to the data for that one
Yeah,
more time,
yeah,
just the
let me go here.
solar wind data? I wanted to make a point based on last week since we did the Russell McLaren effect,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
we
oh
have
yeah, yeah.
another just ambiently drawn solar wind,
Uh,
and we had a primarily positive polarity or positive polarity solar wind as well through it. And statistically, through that time period, we also had, now again, this is only 11 hours, not to say that's statistically significant, but it is just kind of funny that BZ was almost primarily negative the entire time, while the phi orientation was set to away, which is our positive polarity for the solar wind. So again, another example where dry and mostly quiet solar wind can turn into decent negative BZ if it's the right polarity for the right time of year, just because it's statistically more likely.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have the Russell. We do have Russell McFerrin effect in full effect. That's a lot of effects.
Yeah. Now that'll start dying off in the next, week or two. It's not like it's a hard limit or anything, but
No. I think it kind of keeps going into November really.
I think it's like a plus minus 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
really a, oh, well, I guess we could look at the statistical significance through the months, but I think it's like a plus minus 2, 3 weeks around the
That,
equinox time period.
that makes sense. It really does. Just keep remembering that big events, like if we get something from, I don't know, if this ends up being something big, the RM effect just doesn't quite,
Irrelevant.
it's irrelevant. It's really for stuff like this ambient background solar wind that just comes in, where you can get these enhancements, I guess you can say, for lack of better terms.
Yep. Agreed.
So yeah, that's fun. But that's all we had today. We just wanted to have some little fun, little story time. Do you have anything to add to it? Because you were there.
You pretty much covered it all. I mean, I was pretty excited for the fact that it was my first middle latitude aurora. So I've had Alaska all the time, then I've had the crazy low latitude Ohio shows, but I've never had anything in the middle latitude areas.
Welcome to
So
the
this was nice to see.
welcome to the frustration of middle latitude.
Yeah,
I mean,
visually, I mean, it was cool visually. You could see the pillars, not that they had any color. I don't think I saw any color that night.
I
I want
didn't.
to say I did a little bit of the reds that were in like the trees when it first started, but beyond that, it was all just a very bright gray white light.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. Like, but again, I have bad eyesight, so everything is shades of gray with me at night. Like
Fair.
my soul, I guess. It's just so
So emo.
so it's so emo of you. That's
But
why
yeah,
I
I
like,
mean, it was cool.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was fun. We gotta do it again.
Yes.
We gotta have our
We
regular,
need to make it like a semi-annual thing or something. I don't know, something.
yeah.
UMAC outing for a weekend.
I mean, too bad you're so far away. I mean, I'm far away too. Chicago is not really a super, what, it's
It's
still
not
6
easy.
hour drive for me to get up there. But I would do it again because it's fun. It's fun to
It was fun.
substorm. So yeah, let's see. Do we have any specific questions to talk?
No, I've been answering the chat. I guess we can mention. So Les asked if we found that the action happens more on the sharp rise from right after the drop on the magnetometer in Glendale. So I've just been mentioning that really at the as the drop's happening is when the good show is, and it can look still good after it starts increasing again. But after it increases, that's when it's going to start entering recovery mode, and that's usually when you get the pulsing and the fading parts of it.
Yes,
So I mean,
exactly.
it varies also depending on which magnetometer you're looking at.
Yeah, but yeah, once you see the drop, that's when you go out. Hopefully you're,
St. Kelp wants to come too.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, he's a mile away from me. So we just gotta line it up. But yeah, I'm all for it. It was fun. Nothing in the forecast. Okay.
Okay, we will just watch then.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our, and in case you were wondering why we're doing this on a Wednesday, um, I am teaching a workshop this weekend in the Upper Peninsula. So actually I will be I will be utilizing all of this information to hopefully get a group to see Aurora. Even if there's nothing in the
Is it
forecast.
under an Aurora workshop or just like an astrophotography
No,
one? I
it's
forgot
it's
that.
it's I have it labeled as astrophotography because I know better than
Yeah,
to put
smart.
this is an Aurora for photography website living in the middle latitudes. But if we get it, that's going to take priority. Like if it looks good, we're going to Aurora chase. If not, we're going to do Orion or Milky Way or whatever else. And if the weather sucks, then it's fall colors. So that's kind of how I did this. I'm like, I need a plan A, B, C, D, E.
I mean, really, Astro can take its own night anyway, as
It
long
can.
as it's somewhat clear. That's good
Yeah.
enough for most people.
It's so far it's looking okay. I gotta get out of my head and be like it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine.
First
So
day, Antonia. First night, you'll be good.
It'll be
You'll
fine.
get into it, then it's all
But next
easy.
time, I mean, we'll be back on our normal weekend next weekend. Um, I think the Saturdays work. I mean, we could pull the people that watch, like if they prefer something, but I think the Saturdays work pretty good. So
I agree.
I'll throw it out there. But anyway, if nobody has anything else to say,
Nope, I think we are good.
okay.
Tanya, thanks for taking care of the chat in the meantime.
Yes, I know Tanya's our executive producer, Tanya. She's a great asset to this, but she likes to, monitor the chat and help us out. But
I guess I should specify that my title for her being the Aurora Border Patrol for Canada was revoked that night because we managed to see a decent substorm from there. So you're
that's
just our
true.
executive producer, not the Border Patrol for Aurora anymore.
Canadian Aurora Border Patrol. I like that. So on that note, hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week on a Saturday, with some other topic, which we'll probably decide next week,
Yep.
as well. So until then, peace out.
Adios.